You were one of the first 7 to be, like, what you call it, integrated into Rock Hill High. And we were just going to ask you questions on that situation or time, frame.
Okay.
Our first one was, where are you from? And was there segregation there? I don't know if you're from Rock Hill originally.
I was originally from Rock Hill, and we lived in Catawba, South Carolina, which is just outside of Rock Hill, the rural area. Segregation was not enforced. I went to Emmett Scott for 2 years, left Emmett Scott and went to Rock Hill High at my choice. So it wasn't anything that I was commanded to do or forced to do. It was something that I decided to do. I made the choice to leave it, go to Rock Hill High.
Did they just come into the school and ask if anybody wanted to transfer over? How did that work?
Well, to be honest with you, that was a long time ago.
Yes.
And I'm going to do the best to remember as much as I can. It wasn't something that, per se, the school district decided. If I can remember, it was something that NAA CP decided to do. And it was certain people that got together and said, well, we're going to ask certain students if they would go to Rock Hill High, be a part of this integration.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think that's how it took place. My mother's cousin, who was a principal, was really, I don't want to say force, but he was the energy behind encouraging me to go. So I think that's the way it got started, but it wasn't something that the school district, I do know that. It wasn't something that the school district decided that was going to happen.
Okay. Our next question was, how old were you when integration was introduced?
How old was I? I had to be at least 16.
Yes, ma'am.
Probably.
That seems about right. 2 years in Scott.
Yeah. 16.
Another thing that's not on here, was it introduced into the community before it was introduced into the high school?
No.
It wasn't? Okay.
Matter of fact, I was the only one from my community
Yes, ma'am.
that was a part of the integration, and that was not an easy thing. Because I was the only one, and we did ride the buses at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
I was the targeted individual. So, I never knew if I was going to have a seat on the bus or what I could expect each day on the way to school, because I either got, when I would get on the bus, the person that my mother cleaned the house for, her daughter was also going to Rock Hill High at that same time. So she would make sure that she was on the bus, always get on the bus before I did. Her pickup was before mine. So she would also, she would always make sure that she would save me a seat.
Yes,
God forbid if she didn't come to school one day, I did not have a seat. Because as soon as I got on the bus, I would get Aunt Jemima, spitballs, nigger, what you doing here, all kinds of ungodly sayings.
Yes.
So that well, I was the only one in my neighborhood that went to Rock Hill High at that time.
The next question was, what was your opinion on integration? Were you pro or con, and why? I'm guessing you're pro since you decided to go.
The pros was, it was an opportunity to grow.
Yes, sir.
It was an opportunity to be a stepping stone for someone else.
Yes, sir.
It was an opportunity to do something different. The cons was, it was awful.
Yes, sir.
That's the only way I can describe it. It was terrible because you don't realize at that particular time how much hatred there really was in the world at that particular time. It wasn't a pleasant thing
Yes,
to
sir.
do, but it was a necessary thing to do.
Yes, sir.
Because if you're ever going to make a change in the world, you have to step beyond your comfort zone. And that's what I did. At that particular time, I didn't know that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
But as I got older, I understood it better. So, but at that particular time, I was bitter. I didn't like what I had to endure, but I did it.
Did you have the option of going back once you transferred? Like, did you stick it
I
out?
never thought about going back. It never crossed my mind to go back.
You were just gonna stick it out?
I was sharing with people. You think when you're among your own people that you're going to be accepted, but it's not that way. I wasn't happy at Emmett Scott because I was from the country.
Yeah.
And Emmett Scott is a city. So I felt like I didn't fit in with the city girls and didn't really have the relationship with those that I had left elementary school with. They had changed over and they're now part of the city group. So here you are, feeling left out. So I was ready to leave Emmett Scott because I didn't feel like I was just fitting in at that particular time. I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Yes, ma'am. So your overall opinion of it was good? Like, what was your opinion on integration? Like, the
My
integration as a whole?
overall opinion would be that it was good. It had its good side and it had its bad side.
But it was necessary.
But it was a necessary choice that had to be made.
Yes, ma'am. Another one was, what was your expectations of integration? Did they meet it? Or did they exceed it or fall short?
Back then, I don't know if I had any expectations.
Yes, ma'am.
And to be honest with you, now that you've asked me that question, some of my expectations that I really wasn't aware of was met, because if you can be encouraged by one person,
Yes.
that's better than not being encouraged by anybody. And there was one teacher there that was determined not to let me fail.
No.
And because of her, I did not fail. I got an F. I didn't fail. But she stuck by me. She was always there for me to go talk with when I would get discouraged. So now that I think about it, my expectations were met.
And what were those expectations?
I was going to move from where I was to where I needed to be.
Yes.
I was going to grow from what I was to become something or someone else different than what I was. And I made a change. That was the best part about it. I was able to be a part of the change. I was a stepping stone for those that followed in 1968. Yeah.
Just facts that just every detail was right in bullets. How did integration affect the lives of you and your family? You mentioned the bus, but did it affect your family at all?
Not really, because my mother and my father were the type of individuals that worked hard.
Yes.
They did not, and they knew that it was Ada Bus. And so they knew who they were, and they knew what their responsibilities were for their children. So I did not come home and complain and cry and get all upset about what I had to go through. So it really did not affect them that much, because the family that I was speaking of was a white family, and they didn't look upon us if we were lower than they were. We were actually accepted as a part of their family. Mm. So having that relationship with them, and my parents had a really good relationship with them, made it a lot easier for me to tolerate what I had to go through every day when I went to school.
Yes, ma'am. Let's see. What was it like to be one of the first ones at Rock Hill High? Like, I know you mentioned your teacher not, determined the knowledge you failed, but like the overall thing, your view. With that opportunity.
To be presented with the opportunity to attend Rock Hill High?
Well,
or just the treatment at Rock Hill High?
A little bit of both. Like, not just strictly treatment, but how did you feel about the whole situation? Like, were you happy that you were somebody that you could for integration, or?
Oh. I can remember, and I don't even know if you can remember. At 16 and 17, you're still growing.
Yeah, that's right.
And at that particular time, all I knew was that I had left one environment and gone into another environment. We clustered together, the 7 of us. That first couple of weeks and months, we didn't irritate or mess with anyone. We stayed in our little group. We separated ourselves from the other student.
That's right.
So it took a while for us to feel comfortable at Rock Hill High. I eventually did join the band. I was a part of the band. Didn't become involved in any of the clubs or anything like that. And I was sharing with Mrs. Cooper, I don't have a yearbook. I didn't want a yearbook because it wasn't something that I wanted to remember being at Rock Hill High. But when I went online this morning, I Googled it, and there was my yearbook.
Yes, sir.
So I was able to see me back in those days, and to see a lot of the faces. So I remembered some of the students. But it was a good and a bad time. It really was. Those individuals at the school, those students that decided that I wasn't going to harm them,
yes, sir.
and put away their fear, and we put away our fear, and I put away my fear, we were able to mingle with each other and forge a per se friendship. Mm-hmm. So I guess I could only say it was good days and bad days.
Yes, sir.
Really.
Now, this fear you're talking about, do you think it's more fear of the unknown, or do you think it's fear of the individual itself?
Definitely. I wasn't afraid of the students. I was afraid of what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because you never know